messages take on many different forms. It's not going to be a sappy message about mothers and what they mean to us and how they do this and how they do that, because all of that's true. We thank God for mothers, and for those of you that are mothers, hopefully you thank God for being a mother, because not everybody can do that. Not everybody can be a mother. Not everyone has been chosen to be a mother. But anyway, I think there are two women that call forth our attention that we want to look at this morning that I think have messages for us. And of course, we honor our pastor. We thank God for his presence today. And we thank God for each of you. So today I'd like to talk for a few minutes about two mothers who have found their places in biblical history. And I would like for us to take their messages to us. So two mothers who have their place in biblical history and their messages to us. You know her perhaps best as, or better known as Jezebel, right? We've heard of Jezebel before. 1 Kings chapter 16, verses 30 and 31 read as follows. 1 Kings chapter 16, verses 30 and 31. And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of the Lord above all who were before him. And it came to pass, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he took as his wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ithbaal, king of the Sidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. You may be seated. I'm going to read another scripture so you can sit. Jezebel. So the other woman we want to look at is Jochebed. How many of you know her? A few. Who was she? Moses' mother, yes. Exodus chapter 6, verse 20. These words are recorded. And Amram took him Jochebed, his father's sister, in marriage. And she bore him Aaron and Moses. And the years of the life of Amram were 137 years. And then let's look at Numbers 26 and 59. Numbers 26 and 59 have these words recorded. And the name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, whom her mother bore to Levi in Egypt. And she bore unto Amram Aaron, Moses, and Miriam, their sister. Two different women who have their places in the Bible, and I believe they're there for a reason. Jezebel, Jochebed. How many of you, by a show of hands, know another woman named Jezebel? That's saying something. Now, I don't know a Jochebed, but I would probably want to believe that maybe there is some variation of it. But Jezebel, just because, and her name actually, I think the root of it is Prince. But because of the personality, the character of this woman, nobody really wants to be called a Jezebel. How many of you, if somebody called you a Jezebel, are going to feel good about that? Not at all. Because Jezebel's reputation is not a good one, right? So let's look at a few things about Jezebel. She married Ahab, and someone has said that this was a brilliant stroke of international diplomacy for her to marry the king. And Ahab was the king of northern Israel. And so when she married him, she became the queen. Okay, so Jezebel is perhaps best known for her manipulation, her seduction. She was able to mislead the saints of God into sins of idolatry and immorality. In fact, when we read our first scripture in Kings about her, and I want to go back to that because I think that's very important. 1 Kings 16, 30 and 31. It says, and Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of the Lord above all who were before him. So, in other words, all of the kings that were before Ahab, they did evil, or they did those that were sinful, but he did more, it seems like. He was more evil in the sight of the Lord. And then verse 31 says, and it came to pass as if it had been a light thing. The way I read that is like as if it hadn't been bad enough that he did more evil than the other kings. He goes and he marries Jezebel. Right. Not a good thing necessarily. But anyway, someone has said it was a brilliant stroke of international diplomacy. Maybe because of her lineage and him being the king, they thought it was a good match. So, if she marries an evil man, and then in scripture it kind of indicates, well, as though that weren't enough, he marries Jezebel, that seems to be saying a lot about her character, the kind of woman that she is. Jezebel did a lot of negative things. In fact, her husband on one occasion was looking down and depressing. I mean, you got to give her some props. She was concerned about her man, so I'm like, okay, I can see you take care of your man. She on her way depressed. He wants a piece of property, if you will, that belongs to somebody else. And so he's looking, now he's the king, and you can imagine he's got all this stuff that belongs to him, but he wants this particular piece of property. So, because he talked to the man, I believe it was Nebat, he talked to him. Nebat said, no, I can't give up this land. This land belongs to my family. And so he goes home, maybe sulking or down or whatever. So Jezebel asks him, he tells him, Jezebel takes it upon herself to have him killed. She concocts this story and basically gets him set up so he ends up being killed so that her husband can have this property. Terrible thing. He's the king. He could have had any other property, but he wanted this one. And so Elijah was the prophet of the time. Elijah took exception to that. So he let her know, I'm going to just cut to the chase. The way you dealt with him, you're going to be dealt with in a similar way. Your blood is going to be spilled in the street. And the dogs are going to come and eat your flesh. And so and that was just one thing that she did. She did some other things too. And I think when we talk about women with a Jezebel spirit, because on one occasion, and this was close to the end of her life, I don't know if she knew she was going to die this day or what, but she decides to fix herself up. And she goes to meet the guy who is now the king. And anyway, her people turned on her because what they ended up doing was pushing her out a window. They ended up turning on her. She died just like Elijah said she was going to die. And scriptures, the studies, I don't know if I read it in the scripture necessarily, but the way she ended, the only thing that was left of Jezebel was her skull, her hands, and her feet. So Jezebel did people a good end. Jezebel had a history of misleading the people of God. She was a persecutor of the people of God, and particularly the prophets of God, because we remember that showdown between Elijah and the prophets of Baal, because she was an idol worshiper. And no doubt she turned her husband more to idol worshiping. The spirit of Jezebel is in Christian circles today. That's why I wanted to bring her up. She has some significance. It's not for us to just read about her and she's dead and gone. There's something that we can learn from her. Her spirit is alive and well. Her spirit is about curtailing and causing resistance. Her spirit is a force behind individuals and groups which exercise manipulation, domination, and control. Men can have the spirit of Jezebel just like women can. Right. Because it's a spirit. And why is that important? Because I think when we know things like this, it helps us to better guard or govern our lives. Because I don't know nobody that wants to be like Jezebel. Jezebel, but she was a mother. She had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. Right. Scripture tells about how her 2 boys died. I'm not sure how her daughter died, but this woman, seemingly no good came of her life except to be an example to us to say, that is not the kind of life we want to live as mothers. What kind of heritage does she leave? Not a good one. So much so that nobody wants to be named Jezebel. Nobody. Because of the associations and because of the way she lived her life and because of how she died. Can you imagine that? Your mother gets pushed out of a window. The dogs eat her flesh. And all that's left is her skull, her hands, and her feet. Because of the kind of life she lived.
Right.
That's all that was about. It was about the life that she lived. So now we look at Jochebed, a different kind of woman, because we're on one side of the spectrum. Now we move to the other side of the spectrum. Jochebed was Miriam, Moses, and Aaron's mother. There's not a lot in Scripture about her. Her appearance is short, which says we don't have to live a long time necessarily to do something great and significant. Doesn't take a lot of time. God is able to take a little and do so much more with it as opposed to have a whole lifetime of being a horrible person, a bad person, not doing anything meaningful with your life. But anyway, as her appearance is short, we do see this about Jochebed, her trust in God. Okay, so she's a Hebrew. They're enslaved in Egypt. The Egyptians see that the Hebrews are growing mightier or growing stronger. They're probably starting to outnumber them. And it reminded me maybe a little bit of what's going on today. But anyway, you have to study that and kind of, look at that, how you choose. But anyway, the Pharaoh, because he was watching how the Egyptians were growing, he sent out a decree that all the Hebrew boys, the male children, would be killed.
Right.
They would be killed before they had a chance to do anything because he, again, looking at them, it's like, oh, well, they're going to outnumber us and then they're going to side with our allies and then we're going to be the minorities and we won't be in control. And so in so doing, Jochebed is probably pregnant at this time, and so she understands, okay, all the male children are going to be killed. She makes a decision. She had a baby, and so the midwives were instructed to kill him, and so the midwives had to tell a lie. That's what they did, told a lie. To say, oh, the Jewish women, they're strong, and by the time we get there, they've already given birth. So Jochebed, knowing that her son's life is in danger, makes a decision. And her story kind of makes us look at adoption a little different. When girls or women get pregnant and they decide, I can't keep this baby, and there was a school that thought, oh, that's horrible, how do you give your child away? Well, you do what you have to do for the safety of your child, a good mother anyway. Yeah. So what she did was put her baby in a basket and sent him down the Nile River, had Miriam looking out, watching to see what was going to happen, and as God would have it, there the Pharaoh's daughter is bathing in the Nile. So she sees this basket, it's like, well, what's going on? So, long story short, she has her servants get the baby, and look at God. Miriam is still looking. So the servants get the baby. Miriam finds her way to the Pharaoh's daughter and said, well, it'd be nice if we had one of the Hebrew women to take care of this baby. This is God. This kind of stuff could not even be scripted for the best Lifetime movie. God is working it out. So, Miriam and the Pharaoh's daughter agrees, but she said, okay, well, go get somebody. Miriam goes and gets Jochebed, her mother, and so now her mother is coming to nurse her baby that would have otherwise been dead if she had kept him. Not only does she nurse her baby, she gets paid for doing it. Look at God. Nobody but God could work that out. Lifetime couldn't sit down and write that good enough. And so we see a different kind of mother, a different woman. Not a lot said about her, because I don't even know if the Bible tells us whether or not she lived long enough to see her son become the deliverer. However, because she trusted God, because she made a decision to be a different kind of woman, a different kind of mother, she was able to produce a national leader who was like none other before him. Jochebed shows us what it means to trust God. to trust in his faithfulness. She shows us how giving up something or someone that we love is sometimes difficult and hard, but it's necessary and may be necessary for the further good. As mothers, we have decisions to make. We can choose to be godly examples because we have a generation of children that really need the example. Yeah. Not just our children, other children that we might come in contact with. Right. What kind of example are we giving them? Are we equipping them? Are we giving them the tools that are necessary for them to be able to have a good life? I'm not talking about rich. I'm not talking about living in a mansion. I'm not talking about having so much money in a bank account, but I'm talking about their character, their moral development, that they're healthy. I submit that part of the reason the generation around us is the way they are is because we failed to be mothers. Amen. And it doesn't have to be our biological children, children that we have to do with. Anybody's child that comes in contact with us, when they walk away from us, what do they leave with? Do they leave with a good feeling? Are they encouraged? Are they motivated towards success? Or do they see us living any kind of existence? Do they see us doing any and everything? Saying any and everything? Why would they want to do anything different? Right. Sometimes we get hung up on the wrong things. We're more concerned about the outside appearance, how they look, as opposed to what's going on in here, right, and what's going on in here. I'd rather see them coming in with their sagging pants on, giving me an opportunity to work with them and teach them, as opposed to stopping them at the door, insisting that they look a certain way, sound a certain way, behave a certain way before they can come into our circle. Right. What's the difference? Jezebel, here she is, this queen. But what kind of life is she living? What kind of legacy does she leave behind? Here's Jochebed, a just everyday woman in the hood, probably. And I'm like, I really think she was a sister. Some of her actions make me feel like, yeah, she was a sister. She was thinking like a sister. But her focus is on the things of God, and making sure she preserves the integrity of Yahweh, if you will, by the way she conducted herself and how she did things. She knew, and I have to believe, maybe she knew her son was born for greatness, because she wasn't selfish. She said, I'm going to keep my baby to myself. All right now. I ain't giving my baby away. I ain't sending him over there. Right. She could have done that. She could have decided to try to keep him and hide him. But she said, no, I'm going to give up what is important to me and precious to me for the greater good. That's what mothers do. We're called to be godly examples of what's right. The generation is not going to change by themselves. These babies that are in here, if they don't see godliness modeled before them, how are they going to know what it looks like? Right. They're not going to pick up no book and read. They're not going to see it on TV. They're not going to get it in school. We have to be the examples. We have to be the examples in the home. We have to be the examples in the community. We have to be the examples in the church. Because these young people are our tomorrow. We're teaching them how to do church. We're teaching them how to be good wives, good mothers. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're teaching them how to take care of their children. I am so sick and tired of women. I see them, and I say women because I look at us as being, our role being that of a nurturer in the street, in the shopping malls, in the store, cussing their children out. All kind of ugly things they say to them. And I want to turn around and say, you another one. You the bigger one. Why would you do that? But this is what we hear. And sometimes it takes all the God in me to not say anything. And not that I would, but some people are not able to receive it a certain way, so you try to give a look, or you might try to play with the child or something, because it shouldn't be happening. Right. It don't just happen in the street, in the community. It's stuff going on in here. We gotta be careful, because people are watching us, people are listening to us. And so this spirit of Jezebel, this spirit of control and manipulation and domination, we got to be careful. Our boys are watching us. Our girls are watching us. We are teaching them how to treat people, how to live in the world. And what kind of message are we sending?
All right.
I would hate to live my life and come to the end of my life and die so tragic. I think for every one of us that's still here, God has left us here for a reason. To try to get it together so that we can really be the Christian that God has called us to be, so that we can start to live more like Jochebed, who shows us trust in God and how it pays to put your trust in God, because God can take whatever we give him and he can do so much more with it.
Right.
God's purposes are more often than not unknown to us. We have no idea sometimes what God is up to. But if we would just trust him, if we would walk with him, if we would follow him, as opposed to taking matters in our own hands. And know this, we can never win fighting against God.
Okay.
We'll never win. There's no win in that. And so we can choose, sisters, to continue or to have the spirit of Jezebel. It's our choice. Because in looking at Jezebel, I ask myself, am I like her? Lord, reveal to me in what way am I like Jezebel? Because I think there's a little Jezebel in all of us. We want what we want, and we want it when we want it, and we manipulate and we maneuver to get what we want. We do. But is that how we want to end? Is that what we want our lives to be like? No. We can be like Jochebed. Lord, here I am. What little I got, I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust you. I'm going to follow your lead. And look at how God worked it out. I don't think Jochebed had any idea that she would be called to nurse her baby. And then not only to nurse her baby, get paid for doing it.
Right.
Because I don't know about you, motherhood, I didn't see too many checks. I didn't know, Sandra said none. I didn't see no checks. I didn't get paid for being a mother. Well, the payoff comes when they become an adult.
Amen.
You know, when they can look back and say, thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you gave me. There are some children, when you mention their mother, they cuss. I'm working with one right now. She got everything in the book to say about her mother. Because somewhere along the line, mom dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And mothers are not perfect.
No.
Fathers are not perfect. We're not perfect. But God is able to take what we give him, like with Jochebed. If we put it in his hand, God is able to take it, turn it around, work it out, pull it together for our good and his glory. And the end of the story is so much better than the beginning.
Right.
What kind of woman do you want to continue to be? What kind of woman do you want to grow to be? You can continue to be a Jezebel, have a Jezebel spirit. You don't have to be an immoral woman. And immorality, how is immorality just restricted to makeup and clothes? When we think about morality, that's all we think about.
Have mercy.
We don't think about matters of the heart. What I'm saying, how I'm saying it, how I'm treating people. Yeah. I can wear a dress, like I've said it so many times before, and look all sanctified and open my mouth and remove all doubt. I got on my pantyhose and my heels and my pearls and my suit and my bag, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I can cuss you out.
Well.
Really? No. That should not be of godly women.
Amen.
So I can continue. Jezebel, I'm sure she was doing her thing.
Probably.
But the prophet told her, your end is not going to be so good. And God is merciful. He gives us a chance to straighten up, to get it together, to change what we need to change.
Yeah.
He gives us that opportunity because he wants better for us. Jezebel, Jochebed, two different women in the same Bible with history, with stories. They're gone. How will your story end? How will your story read? God bless you.
Amen.
At this time, we extend the invitation to Christian discipleship. If there is someone here today who does not know Jesus and the pardon of their sins, we offer Christ to